Hi, everybody. I'm Rogers Healy, the host of Rogers That, a podcast dedicated to selling without selling out. And today we have someone that has conquered so many different things. He's conquered type 1 diabetes. He's conquered an incredibly competitive space. He's conquered being a family man, a father, a dog breeder, everything. And he's done it with a servant's heart, and he's done it his way. In 2011, my dear friend Jason Poston, who I've known since the 2000s through a different life that we used to both live, and it led us to the life we both have now. But in 2011, Jason was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and he did what very few people do when they're faced with something that is a challenge. He looked it in the face, and he kicked it in the face. And Jason decided to go take that news and turn it into an obsession, a passion, and a mission for being an Olympic bodybuilder. Fun fact, Jason has been in the top 3 for Mr. Olympia, which is something that will never be said about your host here. I'm never going to be in the top 3. Maybe I'll be in the top 3 for like Mr. Olympia, and it's spelled weird, and it becomes a whole different thing. But back to Jason. He's a top 3 performer. He is the most followed, influential person in the world of bodybuilding that has a diabetes background, and Jason has done all of this while remaining true to himself, which is why I've asked him to be a part of the show today. So without further ado, my most ripped friend, my most feared friend, but you're about to fall in love with him like I did when I met him at a nightclub in 2009, Jason Poston.
Thank you, man. Yeah. That was extraordinary.
Yeah.
You hyped me up.
Thank you. And thanks for coming today, and that's it. So that's it, Jason. Thanks for being here. I'm kidding. Jason, give us some background. Let us get to know you a little bit. I know that if y'all are watching, you can experience what I'm experiencing. That's just absolute intimidation. But if you're not watching, I'm going to have you paint a picture. Imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger coming in without the Austrian accent, and all of a sudden he wants to just give you a hug. That's it. That's Jason. But give us some background. What got you here today?
It's funny how the lens that people see you is not always the lens that you see yourself, right? Maybe that is why people get into lifting weights and bodybuilding, because they want to better themselves, and it's not ever good enough. Like I'm happy, and I'm at 41 now with 4 kids. I feel where I'm very content with all my work to build a physique. But it is funny because, I don't see myself as big or muscular, right?
It's crazy you led with that question, because one of the things I was going to ask you off subject or off kind of what we prep with is, at what point does a bodybuilder just say, I'm satisfied? I've gotten to the point where I lift as much as I want to lift. My muscles are as big as they need to be, but you're actually kind of answering it for us, which maybe makes you different in this space anyway. But have you actually reached that point where you're at the peak performance and you're going to just maintain it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think looks wise, right? I just say looks because when you work out, some people have this look in their mind they want to achieve. And I achieved that. Like I didn't really have a goal to look a certain way until I started bodybuilding at 30. So I always worked out. When I met you, I was working out, but it was all performance based. So everything was about, looking good. We'll say 10-20% of the equation, but the rest was all about performance. How fast can I run a 400, a lap around the track? How fast can I run the mile? How many push-ups can I do?
You're saying before bodybuilding.
Yeah, before bodybuilding. In my 20s and before type 1 diabetes diagnosis. I had a completely different mindset on fitness, right? And so my fitness was performance driven, just seeing what I could get out of my body by just testing myself with Navy SEAL fitness challenges and sprint triathlons, and also I was big into strength. How strong could I be? Strength was a huge performance goal for me. I wanted to be freaking strong.
Did that stem from something like maybe throughout your childhood? Was there something that you wanted to prove to somebody or to yourself? What was, I wanted to be strong too, but I also wanted to eat Snickers and play, Nintendo. And
yeah.
So I kind of went down that path until I went through my, change physically, which I'm still getting there as Mr. Olympian with 2 Ys. But what got you to the point where even before bodybuilding, you decided that fitness was something you wanted to kind of obsess over?
In the very beginning, it was a small guy thing. I was smaller. I graduated high school at like 155. So I'm 5'10 and a half, maybe 5'11. And I was thin and smaller. I had pretty good athleticism, but in Texas, you need to be bigger if you're going to go to college and play sports. So I always wanted to do that. I look up to athletes. The whole athlete and coach, driven lifestyle was that's how I related to life. That's what my dad was real hard nosed. He's really tough on me, but it was always, relating everything in life to sports. And then when I figured out after high school, like, you know what, I'm not cut it to be some type of college athlete or pro athlete or not even a varsity athlete. I mean, I rode the bench at most of my sports. I realized that I was going to have to lift weights and work to be this elite athlete, and
which would be kind of your, not defense mechanism, but if you could lead with that, you wouldn't get made fun of, or you wouldn't be,
it just gave me a place. It gave me confidence. I mean, certain people get confidence from other things, and it's so common that we'll just call me a meathead, right? And I've absorbed that. Fine. That's where I get my confidence, though, to excel at other things. So at a young age, as a young man, if I can develop confidence by getting my bench press and squat and building a back and a deadlift, and just building all these muscles through something that I'm dedicated to sacrifice to, then that could possibly propel me, number one, to a career, which I started personal training, right? My first career. And then also it can...
Before you were a bodybuilder.
Yeah, long before. I became a trainer at 21. I was a trainer when I met you. And that was all I did. Was I had, personal clients that I needed to service and take care of, get them results, motivate them, inspire them to make changes in their life so that I could give back,
But you found a way to find significance through doing that, to where maybe... I think the best leaders, the best big brothers, the best dads are the ones that maybe didn't have the best experience having a big brother, a dad, a mentor. And,
Yeah.
And I have the greatest dad ever, but I never really had a mentor, which is why I like owning a business, is that I can pour into people, and it kind of makes up for the lost time. But maybe that did that for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you have the business owner mentality, where how do you go grow that to scale, knowing that the way you make money as a trainer is, one-on-one with somebody, and you can only be with so many people per day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's so much to say about it, because I have a huge passion to help trainers and people that come from my background, to help them understand that they can scale. Yeah. I mean, they can literally, let me show you a way you can make millions a year from starting off simply personal training people, because that was my path and that's what I did. But it all started with one goal is, well, first of all, why am I here on earth? What am I going to do? We're all thinking 18, 19, 20, 21. And unfortunately, some people all the way for the rest of their life, they don't ever figure it out. But especially during those younger years, you're like, what am I supposed to do with my life? How am I going to work? How am I going to make money? And, someone told me, like a lot of us here at that age, is like, hey, find something that you can do where you don't feel like you're working, and, you have a great career. And yeah, and I saw my dad, and we can get into the whole, family, fatherly, role model stuff when we're ready. But, I saw how miserable he was working 2 jobs. We didn't have a lot of money, barely keeping the light bill on. He was always trying to do different things on top of his 9 to 5 that didn't pay well. And he was just miserable, and he took it out on us. Right. So I saw that stress, and when I turned into a man, I realized, I'm in college, but dude, I still don't know what I want to do. But I love working out. I love helping people. My name is Jason. Jason was a healer in the Bible. My mom put that and implemented that in my brain my whole childhood, that I was going to be a healer. And even though I didn't believe her, when it came time to picking my career, I was like, whoa, man, personal training is kind of helping people. I'm not healing people, but in a way, maybe someday this can turn into healing people. And we can get back to that later, because I'm doing some crazy things right now that have far outreach just simply counting people's reps. But, at that young age, that was the foundation, was just, maybe I'm not the top athlete, but I love helping other people be a top athlete. Maybe, I'm not the smartest businessman, but shoot, man, it's fun training these CEOs and hearing about their day and being a part of their team that's helping them accelerate.
Teach them something too. I think that the best mentors are the ones that get mentored, and the people that, and maybe we have this in common, maybe we don't, but my background prior to real estate was I literally sucked at everything. And I think having that mindset coming in where I was the fat kid, I never made the sports team. I literally got cut from basketball every year from 5th grade till senior year of high school. And I went into it knowing I was going to get cut, which kind of made it fun. But what was weird about business for me is that I found success kind of quickly, which is still weird for me, right? But I take that mentality where I can learn from people that have different backgrounds and different skill sets. But I think that makes me a better monster, that I don't know everything. And I think for you, you can probably learn that along the way, but you can take little nuggets from these people that have different successes, and then that's how you build your brand better than anyone ever has.
Yeah. It is a sponge type industry. We'll say it is a sponge type service industry, personal training, because you are, if you're smart. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. But I was, coming from very little success in your family and having to pay for all your own things at an early age, and I had a job when I was 14.
Wow.
I had multiple jobs all throughout high school and all throughout college. Man, that's why I sucked at school. But what I did have was application. I knew how to work, and I had the work ethic. And so when I started this whole fitness journey, I saw that I was going to have to outwork every other trainer at the gym to be the number one in sales. I was going to have to out smile and compliment and out relationship everyone else, because it still was all competitive. I'm still thinking like an athlete when I'm personal training people, like, man, how can I get more clients? How can I expand? And I always look at other people in my business circle, right? Even though we're just personal trainers, we're all friends, I still always want to make more money, right? And nowadays it's a little different. You're not so concerned because I'm not in a work environment with a whole bunch of alpha females and males training people, but still it's now turned on myself. Where
you are now to a different scale, and I want to get there. But social media wasn't around when you and I started working, whether we were 14 years old, even in our early 30s. Facebook was around, and I think that it was still a genuine device for staying connected. And again, I want to get to that, to where the branding and you being genuine and leveraging social media is pretty outstanding. But let's get back to the part where it was a pivotal moment for you. And obviously you're a grinder, you're a competitor, you're literally a competitor for a living, but you're competitive, just in general. But you get the diagnosis of diabetes, and you're already fit, and you're doing Navy SEAL workouts, and you're helping people to relative scale. But what was that moment like, where you've been faced with more adversity than most people, whether at 14 or at 31, and you've proven to be resilient? But something like that, it could put people, in a dark place. But what was the headspace, and how did you push through it?
That was 2011, and I'll remember the day that I knew something was wrong with me for the rest of my life, because, I lost 15 pounds in a weekend. It was when the Cowboys hosted the Super Bowl here. There was a big ice storm. Yeah. They almost weren't even able to have the Super Bowl. I'm sure Jerry Jones was freaking out.
Steelers versus Packers. I went. It was miserable.
It was. Everything. Everyone was locked in, but there was still tons of parties, and the town was still alive. I just think it was crazy because of the ice everywhere.
Yeah, and if you remember this too, off topic, but the taxi cabs went on strike as well.
Yep.
And it was back before Uber, and so it was like Armageddon.
Yeah.
Which is why Dallas hasn't had a Super Bowl since.
I guess so.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to 15 pounds.
Well, so we go. I'm just that year there was a lot of stuff going on, and looking back, it was all essential. That's what's funny, is if you really, if you look at some of your struggles in life where you've had to dig out of a ditch, if you look at it the right way, you always see how important it was and pivotal in your life. It was really to set you on the right path, if you did it right. And so that's when I lost a ton of weight. Lost 15 pounds in a weekend, so I start eating, and I start thinking, okay, I need to gain my weight back. It's no big deal, but my face, like if you imagine losing 15 pounds this weekend, like you look a lot different Monday morning. And, so I had all these different crazy symptoms, frequent urination. I mean, I couldn't sit 15 minutes without having to go to the bathroom. I couldn't even drive down the road. I literally have to pull over the side of the highway. And I couldn't make it to a bathroom. It was such a push.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, because now I know in diabetics listening to this, or people who are, understand blood sugars, ketones build up in the urine, and your body recognizes that as a toxin. So your body just wants to pee out the toxin. All right. It's very similar to like when you drink a lot of alcohol and the next day you're like or even that night you're just peeing. It's not necessarily the water, it's the blood sugar. So mine was sky high and I couldn't hold it. But then you get dehydrated. So once you pee out all your water, right, then you literally are peeing out your intracellular water too, and your muscles, and you're just so dehydrated. And then you're not absorbing any nutrients either because your blood sugar is so high. My breath would smell like sugar. I would constantly smell sugar, and it would just smell sweet everywhere. And it was my own sweat. And my vision was getting super blurry. And all of it, what's funny is it's not necessarily a massive slap in the face. The weight loss is probably the biggest slap in the face because your clothes don't fit and you're noticeable. But here I was working out, so I just got ripped. I was dehydrated, and I was burning fat too. I was losing muscle, but I was also losing fat because it's just basically eating, 5,000 calories a day, eating whole pizzas, and still being hungry afterwards. It's the weirdest feeling in the world.
Did you know you had diabetes at this time?
No.
You're like, God has blessed me with the coolest metabolism ever. Let's have another pizza for breakfast.
Yeah, it was cool until you really get thin, and then the insecurities kicked in. And I remember people and people would say stuff about like, man, you're looking great. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I'm eating ice cream and pizza and everything trying to gain weight. I can't gain a single pound. So I thought I had a tapeworm. And then, full transparency, I thought I maybe had an STD or something. So I went, got everything checked, and they said, no STDs, no internal gut issues. But what they did simply didn't prick my finger and check my blood sugar. I left that clinic upset, because I was like, I just want to figure out what's wrong with me.
So you leave the clinic, still looking for answers, and then finally you found out that you had type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, I went to a hospital, just admitted myself, because it had gotten so bad. I had no energy to even stand up. It was bad. And during that time, I lost all my clients. I moved out of my apartment because, I didn't have money coming in. I didn't have a lot of money saved up either. So I had been sick for 9 months, and I probably had like 6 months worth of finances to support myself in my bank account, and just ran through all of it. And so I had to move in with my dad. It was just, man, a very depressing time of my life, but also a time when I probably prayed more than ever to find out. So I became closer to God. And really, that's the first time in my life, and I hope everyone can experience this, when you feel like you're so spiritually close to God, you actually feel like you can almost feel the Holy Spirit for at one point in your life. And it's a very surreal, people call this a religious thing, but it was there. That was the number one thing that kept me driving on, because I would have, honestly, could be sleep deprivation. I didn't sleep at all. Like, because when you wake up and you have to pee every 15 minutes, you don't sleep, and I would find, so I would have these, but I would pray, and I would just hear these voices telling me like, hey, you don't have strength right now, but you're going to be strong. And I would hear that over and over, all these nights and mornings when I was just, literally getting this depression or whatever you call it from this, all these issues in my life from being sick. I would hear that over and over again. Like, you're not strong right now, but you will be stronger than ever. And I would hear that. And so when they diagnosed me and they gave me a shot of insulin, I felt like I absorbed all my food right there. I feel like I had better than the best energy drink you've ever drinking. Like, just better than the best day or morning you've woke up when you feel like you got the best sleep and you're just like ready to crush the day. It was like adrenaline, like, whoa, I'm ready, I'm back. And then I really just went and sprinted to researching everything about the disease. In 8 weeks after my diagnosis, I entered my first bodybuilding show.
What?
I was like, I got to do something. And that's where the business and the marketing guy mind kicked in. Was, listen, I've got this disease, but I'm not going to be another statistic. They told me I was going to be fat. They told me that my life was going to change. I wouldn't be able to do all these things. I was going to die early. And I said, no, I'm going to attempt to be one of the healthy faces of this disease. And so that's why I signed up for a bodybuilding show.
What year is this? 2012?
2011. So this is all the same year. I got sick in February, and I got diagnosed 9/11/11, and then I did my first show on the day before Halloween. And I went up to Oklahoma. It was the last show of the year, and I just decided to enter it and see. So I worked in 8 weeks. I was already lean.
Let me time out. So is it pardon my ignorance, is this a bodybuilding competition for people that had diabetes?
No, it was open to everyone. It was a new division in bodybuilding called physique. So it was more attainable, less weight, less muscle. It was supposed to be like kind of like a super muscular beach body look, right? And I had won one of those shows. I used to win them. Like they weren't in the organization. They were just like for fun, or you could win a supplement sponsor. So in 2007, I won a fitness model contest. So this is basically now a fitness model look within the bodybuilding organization that they added to the IFBB. It was the International Federation of Bodybuilding. So now these big massive guys like Ronnie Coleman and
Rogers
Arnold Rogers, yeah.
Arnold. Sorry. Yeah.
You could now be like them in this new division. And so I went, and that's what I did. Listen, let me go try to see. And also it was a marketing thing, right? So you know this with all your businesses. There's certain things, events you show up to. There's certain things that you do to draw more eyes to your business. And with fitness, for me, it was events.
Was social media really around back when you started being a part of the fitness industry from a business standpoint?
Yeah, I used Facebook, and that was a benefit to me. I always use Facebook to show transformations. And then also I read
for your
sales
clients.
Yeah, transformations for my clients. And then also giving out bits and nuggets of gold every day, just like free tips, hey, try this push-up workout. Yeah. I mean, I used to get people on, I wasn't thinking about it as far as like on a bigger scale, but I understand I could book up clients off of Facebook, and I did pretty good at that. And so 2011, when I got better, I mean, I lost every client. I think I had one or two. They were literally just feeding me, basically. And then I booked back up and went up to like 20 clients within a matter of 2 months. Moved out of my dad's house. I lost my car. I had to get rid of my car. Couldn't afford the payment, nothing. So I got a car again. In a matter of 2 months, I was back on my feet, had money in the bank, got an apartment, and started this sprint to where I'm at now.
Which I want to talk about that because I feel like it's a good entry point, but what you've done is you're a unicorn, as far as leveraging something terrible and turning into something great. And I hope that people can learn the lesson from that. But to keep on theme with the podcast of not being a sellout, you learn to leverage it as well from a business standpoint. So as far as leveraging it from a business standpoint, what was your first aha moment to realize that maybe you're using your mission in the world of helping people? And you talk about having 20 clients, as far as Jason, the trainer, but how did you go in your head and start the process of becoming, one of the most influential people in the industry, especially online?
I had an understanding, be it from, reading books. My sources of information back then were probably just books. We didn't have all this stuff on Instagram and podcasts, and we've got a big source of information now. So back then it was just books, and I understood that my story was also going to be my testimony, right? Or the mess I was going through was going to be my outlet to be able to help other people through their mess. Right? If I owned it, and because there's part of you, when you get a disease, you don't want to tell the world about it. You want to just go about your normal activities. And there's a lot of men and women that want to hide it. They don't necessarily want that whole, you don't want people to think that you want sympathy. You don't want people to think that you're weird, right? I now have to do injections every time I eat. And on top, multiple times a day. Like I'm a pincushion, constantly stabbing myself with this needle to inject every time I eat. So you're kind of embarrassed about your friends and all. But I knew it wasn't easy, but I just jumped right into the fact that I'm owning this disease, and it's now a part of my story, and I'm going to utilize this for all on social media. That if I can do it, And if I can be elite, which I wasn't elite, right? But I was getting there. So I had the faith that I was going to become elite. I had the faith that I was going to become an IFBB pro. I had the faith I was going to be the first type 1 diabetic to ever make it to Olympia. And in that process, I was going to bring people along with me, because if I can do it, you can too. And I'm a big person on no excuses. You know, I'm almost a little too hardcore, because like my sons, I'm going to have to probably soak up some knowledge about how being a little bit easier on them. But I'm just real tough. I'm super tough on myself.
But at the core of that is love.
Absolutely.
At the core of that, it goes back to giving people confidence, and it goes back to being 150 pounds when you graduated high school, riding the bench, to scaling your mission, which it sounds like you want to make people just feel great about themselves.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to counter what you're saying, because I realize there's a fine line, but I struggle with that too. And I think that, something someone told me a few years ago that blew my mind, that I never would have ever thought, is that I'm a perfectionist. And I never would have thought that, but you kind of are too. And I think you want people to go and feel the, maximizing each day.
It's because that's what we're meant to be.
I agree.
That's what God has designed us to do. Our divine fingerprint that we leave on the world is not meant to be less than what we're supposed to be.
I agree.
Somebody said this the other day, and I've always thought about it, but not in this way. This is the perfect analogy for how I vision life is, when I die and when I stand before God, or for the people that are, listen to this that maybe don't quite understand God, or they don't have a faith yet, but when you die, if you can see your identical twin, and you look over at your identical twin, and this is the person you're supposed to be, are you anything even close to that potential of what you're supposed to do on this earth? And that's why it's not about what you do. I don't care about how much money people make. I don't care about, what all these different materialistic things. It's just like, did you do what you're supposed to do with the gifts you were given? Were you able to turn around all these struggles that you're given? Were you able to overcome all the obstacles you were supposed to overcome, or did you let them beat you? And so it's not just type 1. It's not just diabetes. It's, abusive father. Father is a meth addict. It's a divorced household. It's, alcoholism running through every man in my family. It's generational curses of poor financial decisions, and then my own struggles, overcoming all that is what I look at it as, just exactly that. This is what, this is the path that has been given to me in life, and I'm meant to do the absolute best with it. And so it's, there's a lot. Like, we haven't even gone into the fact, I went to jail over 30 times before I was 21.
30?
I was in jail a lot. I was a troubled teen, man.
Good Lord. You've been to jail 30 more times than me. And that's...
Yeah. So, but the funny,
did you go to jail as a prisoner, or did you go there as a volunteer?
Oh man, I was definitely locked up, and they didn't let me out till my sentence was over. So county was the highest I did. I didn't go to prison, thank God.
Wow.
Because I didn't get caught for the stupid stuff I was doing. But I did. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, and so. But point being that if a guy like me can get to where I'm at in life, I want people to understand that you've got a shot too.
Amen. I love that, man. That's powerful stuff. And and again, that's the whole premise of this, is you could have given up. Statistically, you should have given up, but you decided to power through because there was something there leading you. And I feel, I went through some weird times in my life, some hard times, but that's when I think that you find out that you're great, right? And if everything was just smooth sailing for people like you and me, we'd get sucked in. But you wake up and you take, I think every day is Monday, right? Every day is an opportunity to maximize your potential, start over, and just crush it. You obviously do it differently. I want to make sure we talk about your brand and what you've been able to do with online being a big source of it. But when you realize what you were, turning into as far as the business side of you, the brand, and it's still Jason Poston, it's still Broken, that led to being a full person, a father, husband, etc. What was the moment where you realized you could go and level up the selling, right? And whether it's selling product or, your persona, how did you do that? And how did you begin to go and, bring brands into your life that were not necessarily something you had ownership of at the time? But what was that process, knowing what you've done now? And just to give you all cold, hard facts, right now, if you were to put something online, how many people do you think would see it?
These algorithms are tough now.
But like
maybe
a few million.
400,000.
But at a minimum.
Like all my followers.
Yeah.
I've I don't know, all together, maybe like over maybe 3 or 4 million followers on different platforms. But yeah, so I mean, but on a given day, we do measure this and we pay attention. I'd say anywhere from 400 to 500,000,
which is insane, right? And you had to obviously get to the point where something I get a kick out of, and it kind of backfired the other night. I went and spoke to a group of people, and I didn't really know the audience before I got in there, and I was like, would you rather have $500,000, or I said, raise your hand if you'd rather have $500,000 versus 500,000 followers. And no one. I was like, well, how about 500,000 followers before? And they're like, yeah. I was like, are you kidding me? You'd rather have 500,000 followers versus dollars. But I think that's something wrong with the world today. But what got you to the point where you started building this? And I know that we've had conversations about your engagement being like a real group of people that are following you and engaging. But what was the strategy in your head to get there? Knowing that, obviously it's always about bringing more people in. But how did you strategically build that so quickly?
Well, there's so many moments that I reflect back on to where I started just building confidence to where, I could make even more money than I ever had. And I'd say the first moment was when Instagram started to really pop. It's like 2012. And I changed a lot of my personal training to online training. It's very common now. But I was one of the first in 2012. I'd seen maybe a few other people, and I had an idea to do online training that I threw it away in 2007 and 2008. I thought, no, we need personal application. But now, so I went to online training, and I just made a few posts about that I was available to help people, and not even thinking that it would be global. Well, I got some messages from two princes in Morocco. What? And it was because of my physique. It was because of the way I look, right? I was competing. I just got my pro card. And I think it was also because I was type 1 diabetic, right? They respected that. But these two princes in Morocco that were brothers.
I have to just do it real quick. 1, 2, Princes here before. Sorry, like in my head, Spin Doctors is now sponsoring the podcast.
The Spin Doctors. Oh, man. Bring back the old school gyms.
Anyway, two princes in Morocco.
Yeah. I was so proud of that. Because I hadn't traveled.
Did you go?
No, I never. I mean, I could have, but now, and if you fast forward, I mean, yeah, I've been all over now.
I'm like in my head, did you travel to Morocco and then you trained the two princes?
I have gone to Dubai and trained some sheiks. So, but that's like later. But this was the first time we were like, maybe that first phone call where you start realizing, okay, I'm not just selling real estate in Texas or Dallas. I'm getting. Wait, all over the nation now, even globally? What the heck? No. And it's a pat on your own back. You're like, man, I'm moving up. No. So that was the first moment, and that's when I realized, okay, this is about if I do things right, and if I continue to educate myself on a businessman, this troubled kid that went to jail a lot and had no guidance and just basically worked people out for a living, man, I think I can do this, and I can maybe. If I do it right, I could become a millionaire. At the same time, I'm trying to win Olympia. So that was that defining moment. I'm not sure if I answered your.
No. But you did. But I think just to get us inside your headspace too, and y'all that everyone has social media, everyone wants to lever it. I think everybody, no matter if they say or not, they want to have notoriety and clout. And social media, I think, is the quickest way to get there. It's also the quickest way to make it collapse. But. You did that, and I want to make sure we tie in the fact that you have a passion for telling your story and for educating people and for bringing them into the community of type 1 diabetes, and you can do it too, no excuses, etc. But how did you start to weave all that stuff in to the fact that you are a storyteller and you can't just tell one story on one platform to reach 3 or 4 million people, 400,000 in one day? What did that all look like?
I piece it all together. And this is going to sound a little different than what people might expect, how they might expect me to answer, but I just gave. I kept giving. I had no goal to build a follower or to build social media, to gain followers. I saw people growing and I thought that was cool. But once again, I did my homework by reading books and brand building and, watching certain DVDs. And I understood that I just needed to keep giving.
Oh, y'all millennials. A DVD is a digital video recording that you put into a machine.
We're so blessed now with information. And we could even say overload. That's a whole other podcast. But I just kept giving. So I gave more and more free information on Instagram so that it would keep so that people of value would appreciate my content. I could have taken my shirt off much more. I could have.
Same.
I could have. Well, that's the thing with the fitness industry on Instagram and Facebook back then. If you had a really killer body, you were just going to gain followers. And less clothing pics you took, that picture got the most likes. God, and so it pushes you to keep doing.
That is why I have to sprinkle in the shirtless pics of me, because it's like I get too many followers, too much engagement. It's like I'm more than just a body.
I'm surprised you haven't sold a shirt with your shirt off yet. Or sold a house with your shirt off. Like
I've done a lot of stuff that's not on social media, and if this is how I'm exposed, and this is the last podcast, if you need me, I'm going to be Jason's bodybuilder. Like something's happening here, and I accept it. But anyway, sorry. Back to building your brand and how you've owned it, and it's so genuine, it's so sincere, and there's stuff on there that, like, there's been a few things when I first saw that you were genuinely promoting. I was like, I don't know if I could say about, but like, it's believable and it's authentic, and you can tell that you believe in the product. But at the root of it, again, the mission for me, good, bad, or indifferent, I'm never going to be satisfied with the companies that I own. Ever. There's never going to be enough people that work here. There's never going to be enough real estate we sold, never going to be enough viewers on the podcast. And I think that's a relative healthy mindset, as long as I don't get caught up in the minutia of the success. And I feel like you're the same way.
Yeah.
And you're in the platform you have gives you access to anybody, but you're still a fan of the business, right? And so I ask you this to lead into the next question of, the collab efforts and the sponsored posts and all this kind of stuff. What is that like, having, the audience that you have, knowing that you're getting hit up daily by people that want you to push their product? How do you go vet that to make sure it still aligns with you and you're not becoming a sellout?
The first thing that comes to mind when I'm trying to align with what I'm going to promote on my social media, which like, if we haven't already spoke about that, my social media is a direct reflection of my life.
Yeah.
And a lot of social media, the influencers aren't like that. It's what they pick and choose, and I get that. Obviously, there's not absolutely everything, but I promise you there's pretty much nothing I won't talk about that's going on in my life. A custody battle with a child, from when I was 22, I talk about that. Going to jail, I talk about that. Drug use, I've talked about that. The biggest thing, being at Olympia and talking about steroids, I've talked about that. But it's all because I want people to understand the struggles in life and how I've overcame them, and also the smart decisions. So it's the same thing. So when I'm working with someone, number one, do they appreciate honesty? Because I'm not your spokesperson who's going to smile and say your product's great if it's not.
So have you ever put out there that a product is not great?
Heck yeah.
Really?
All the time. All the time. I've got some YouTube reviews where I've got a whole review of people that sent me supplements, and I rate them 0 to 10, and I've given some of them like a 2 or a 3. They never talk to me ever again, but you know what? I promise you, and I know Rogers would do this. If someone came in and rated your services, right, and they were respectable. There was actually somebody who worked with you or a colleague of yours. They said, Rogers' system is a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
You would not be pissed at them and delete them and cancel them. You're just like, hey, listen, let's talk about like what went wrong here and how we can do better. And so that's the way I am. Same thing with my business and my products. If you have a poor reality, or you have a poor feedback from something that I've given you in my business, man, let's talk man to man, eye to eye. I really want to see how we can do better. I don't have feelings when it comes to business.
Yeah.
I have feelings when I get great feedback, but negative. I don't ever take anything personally, unless I'm personally being an idiot and have a bad product. Right?
Yeah, and just to give you all visual too, I think from a guy like you to say, let's sit down eye to eye, most people aren't going to have that. That's probably a 4X t-shirt that is fitting like a crop top. I would not be comfortable having a man-to-man talk with you, even on Zoom. And so whatever you say, I agree with, especially,
videos off.
especially in business. But for real, I mean, like, how have you done that? And again, leveling up to where you inspire people with your physique, but you're inspiring them with the fact that you're so authentic to where it's almost like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said something like that, but it was real. Like, how does that headspace work, knowing that there's something you're building here with a different kind of structure, and online is a way to platform it differently?
I hate to do this, but can we go back, because I think it's so important that we talk about picking who you align with social media posts.
Do it.
You've got to talk to the owners. You've got to talk to the decision makers. There's a lot of influencer recruiters, affiliate managers. They have a lot of these beginning level employees that are recruiting you. And that's not, we can have a basic discussion, but I need to talk to the person who's creating the core values of your company. And so that's when you get somewhere about whether you align. You can't align if you've got someone who's literally there just to send you a DM and get you on board and get you to post. You don't know the heart of the company. You don't know if you bleed the same, color. You don't know if you don't know if you align. So if you want to create synergy and you're an influencer or you're someone who wants to post and advertise, you need to talk and understand the core values of the company. And always you can't always talk to the owners, you can't talk to the executives, but I've even got to the point now where I'm just not going to do business if your executive or owners don't want to get on a phone call, then we just, listen, you don't take me as serious as I'm going to take you. And so that's how I know if I'm going to post about something is meeting their owner, understanding their core values, studying the product. If it's supplements, I'm looking at the formulations and determining whether or not how many of the supplements are actually going to be good for my demographic. Would I give it to my kids, my wife, my grandmother, my mother-in-law, my family? And so there's so many things and if it's not in my life, then I don't have a part of it. And that's what's changed with social media is for me. You have a lot of people that will simply just do anything for a check, but I'll make more money if it's actually something that is a serious part of my life,
because you can sell it.
Yeah.
And literally physically you can sell, because it's obviously part of your brand is your physique. And if you believe in something, you're a literal walking billboard for it. So I think that's
Here's
really
an example. Okay. So this is a peptide that I brought you to try. This is called dihexa.
What is a peptide?
Peptides are, they're derived from amino acids. So they're chains of amino acids bonded together to create, medicine, right? So they come from a natural form. All right. Some might say, and you'll see my content, I say peptides are natural. Okay. Now, are they natural? That's really just an opinion. All right. Because they're not chemically altered. All right. There's no chemicals like a pharmaceutical drug, like big pharma drugs like oxycodone or Percocet for anxiety.
Don't look at me when you say Percocet with anxiety. I have anxiety, but I don't take Percocet. It makes me, I'm joking. Keep going. Yeah. Sorry. You're like Percocet with anxiety or whatever the other stuff is for hair loss. And
all these. Well, we live in a synthetic world, so there is synthetic needs sometimes, right? Because life and our nutrition, plastics, heavy metals, toxins, all these different things. Why the heck I have type 1 diabetes, I don't know. But I'm not a believer that this is something that's in my genetic code, and this is something that God ordained and put in the human. I think humans have created a lot of our problems, and a lot of doctors are starting to understand, actually open up about that. But the thing is, so this particular peptide, the reason why I believe in it is because it's an alternative to Adderall. A lot of Adderall is a big issue with it's a healthier alternative. Yeah, so I brought it for you to try, because there is.
I'll call you at 4 a.m. when I just did my second marathon of the afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no side effects. If any, very little. Nothing like Adderall, which is a methamphetamine, right? Addiction and heart issues, and there's all these different potential brain, issues it can cause, inflammation, and so I believe in this, and this because this company approached me, and these guys said, "Hey, we think you'd be interested in peptides. Like, you're a guy who really loves to look at the foundation of things, and we think you'd understand and like alternative medication." And so so this one I've never liked Adderall. It has its purpose. Obviously, I can accelerate more, but this peptide, dihexa, repairs brain cells and builds new brain cells. And there's clinical trials. There's all sorts of research about it. So the point is, like, I take it. I had brain fog, right? For the first time in my life, weird memory issues where, like, I felt like I don't want to get political, but our current president, like, couldn't remember words that were coming out of my mouth. I was like, man, I've obviously slowed down, and my speaking is not as good. I'm not as articulate. I'm using, like...
This is where I tell you, we're getting older.
Yeah.
And this stuff happens. And eating dinner at 4 o'clock in the afternoon is okay now.
I know.
Until you take peptides.
Well, but I don't believe that. I believe that with everything, with our possibilities, that we're absolutely not supposed to, be slowing down this much. And we're absolutely, we're all dying, as we say. People are like, what? Well, we're all going to die. We're all dying. We're all, at a certain point, we're all going to die. So we're all dying, but I don't believe that we're all.
You just looked at me like the whole thing with the anxiety thing. You're looking like you're dying. I'm living. I get it. But yeah, we're all no one's mortal.
Yeah.
No one. And I think that we are going to be a generation that lives longer than any generation prior. And it may be in large part to, because of stuff like that. But we have access to different medicines and technology and,
Yeah, it's all interesting. And so that's why I got involved with a company like this, is because, listen, this is an alternative to something that I have a big passion about, which is, I think that we're over medicated. I've had family. It's just been an awful thing to see, people on so many pills. And so I've had family literally die because they're over medicated. So what's an alternative to that? So that's where I got in the peptides. And that's the same thing with every company that I'm aligned with. It's something that I believe, based on my past and what I've gone through in life, this is what I'm supposed to be. Not what I want to, but this is what I'm supposed to be promoting right now.
Describe yourself in one word.
Passionate.
I literally knew you were going to say that. I did. And I think you and I probably have similar excitements, which leads to probably similar struggles. Passion, excitement, obsession. If you find something you love, then you want to know more than anybody. You want to do it better than anybody. And that's how I am with kind of everything that I kind of put my mind to. But that leads to I have a really hard time finding balance. And I don't know if that's a problem with you, but if you've mastered that, maybe give us the formula. But for real, knowing that you've got 4 kids, you've got a wife, you've got faith, you've got working out, you do it in the morning, you wake up. It's like, how do you maintain relative balance knowing that you also have stuff coming at you at a pace that most people don't? On top of that, with the social media prowess, you've got a different machine that you're running, but you seem to still you seem balanced to me, with energy, and I'm sure that's a lot with the stuff that you're, for real. That
all my PEDs.
No, but for real, I'm sure that maybe your body works at a different type of function than most. But how do you find balance where, on top of that too, this kind of stuff never stops? And I can't imagine. Again, I think it's a blessing to have millions of people following you, but that also makes you feel like you're responsible for letting them know what you had for an afternoon snack. And I struggle with that. Not struggle with it, but I feel like that's part of what I have to do. But where do you find balance?
First off, I don't have it either. And I could use, and I do have some amazing mentors in my life that help me find balance, right? Whether it's my pastor or some business mastermind groups I'm a part of, or just my friends, right? And even sometimes my wife. But, so I am still working on that. But this is what I believe for guys like yourself and I, is that we created structure in our first steps into our business life. Our structure was probably doing very similar things every single day and doing it a lot, and doing it over and over again to where it became a part of our life. And so in the past, this is really just the past 3 months, I've started getting more balance, and it still is a struggle, but by having structure with organization of getting away from balance. Like, I have to have a calendar that my alarm goes off and says to get off your phone at this time of night. And so I have to do that, and I have to stick to it.
Literally?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what works. That's been working for me. And then I have.
What time is the alarm? 2 a.m.?
8 p.m.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Dude, good for you.
After 8 p.m., if you're not like, and even friends, there's certain friends that I don't, if you're not in my house, I probably am not talking to you.
Dude, what a freaking great way to live.
And it's been working for me because I do go so hard. I mean, when I woke up, this morning at 6, immediately was on the phone with my partners on the East Coast and telling them about some customer service issues. Have immediately boom, 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 boom. We're going at it, and tensions and stresses raised. So that's not good for your mind to do that from 6 a.m. all the way till even 6 p.m. Really, how long can you live life like that? So right now, while I'm in this growth phase where I need to continue to scale things, so I can reach my financial goals, it's at 8 p.m. and then I give the last 2.5 hours to my wife and kids, and I'm working from home too, so I'm with them constantly. But like I said, I have not mastered balance, but there's a structure. The structure is, personally, finding the right childcare. We had good childcare. We didn't like it. So now we're getting back into the right childcare so me and my wife can do some things as entrepreneurs together during the day. That's a part of balance.
Yeah. But the lesson you're sharing too that I can digest is that I think one of the most important things to find as an adult, as a business person, as whatever is find out what you suck at. And I think you and I both know what we're good and we're great at, but I think it also has just shown that you have to be intentional, right? And I suck at balance. And if I don't have my phone upside down, I'm going to be on it, which is going to struggle with having a newborn baby, a wife, and like just watching TV. But it's almost like I have to time block being present. And it seems like you've done that. Even, again, 8 p.m., that's impressive. That's really, really impressive. But mastering that, you know yourself. And by doing that, you kind of find out that if you get sucked in and tempted, you miss out. So I think that's great. What would be the life advice you give somebody that's watching this now, whether it's someone who has a broken background, they want to be a bodybuilder, they want to be a business owner, they want to be a realtor, they want to own a clothing company, whatever it is, what's the advice you would give them that they have to stick with?
Say that again.
What's the best advice?
I was thinking so much about this balance.
No. But I mean, the balance thing is a whole other conversation in itself. And I don't think anybody that's a performer will ever master balance. I think that what happens is as you get older in life, you master perspective. But then you have to also be real that you can't just go all day and watch your kids grow. Yeah. You can't go all day and like sit with your wife.
That's what I was just thinking about, is I realized how detrimental it can be. If you're not balanced, but you're still working, like you've got the work ethic, you're a workhorse.
Yeah.
You're going 12, 14, 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
That you will not be as successful as if you simply cut that in half and give more of your best.
And you also won't be
diluted
resentful.
Version of yourself that is not balanced is not as successful as even a less, like a horse that's sprinting. I mean, you can't. These horses that show up to the Kentucky Derby, they have been resting and training properly so that they're at their peak for that performance that day. And then I've made some bad decisions. That's what I was thinking about. I was like, I've just made some bad decisions when I'm overworked, imbalanced, overstressed. I get angry, aggressive. I say things I don't mean on calls and emails. It's dumb. It really, think about it. It's that simple for me. It's just taking less of myself away from things so that I can be more the next day.
Okay, you got to give us your best advice. What is it?
My best advice is, oh man, there's so many things, man. This is what I love about life, is that
you get one pearl of wisdom, one nugget. Not a chicken nugget, and if it's a chicken nugget, it's grilled and not fried.
I think right now, don't run, just ride.
Dude, that's like a lyric. Come on, tell me, give me this. Don't run, just ride.
Well, here's what I mean.
Is it a lyric?
No.
Not yet.
No, I don't know where I got that from, to be honest. I don't know. But, here's what I mean is that, if you're constantly just running through life, right? And that's just a word that I say, it's kind of catchy, but if you're running through life and, you really can't see what's around you, you really can't grasp the special little moments each day, the absolute things that you should be grateful for. And there's a lot of expert runners listening, like, man, I run and I'm just like on point. Okay, you're not getting the point. When you're running too fast, though, you can't see everything as if you're taking your time and just coasting. And so how do you just ride? I think, and I believe we're all meant to ride through life by understanding some of the complications, the obstacles, the tragedies that are happening in our life. We're meant to utilize that to not only better ourselves, but because you have that experience, because you've had divorce, because you've had jail time, because you've had issues with addictive fathers and abusive fathers, that is not something that you should be necessarily ashamed of. That is because you've gone through that means that you're able to ride through life and help others ride along with you. And maybe that's not everyone. Maybe you have some issues that are a small niche group of people. But that's even more powerful because now you're in a smaller community, you can really tap into people. That's the thing with type 1 diabetes is that, instead of just, running through it and then starting back over life with where I was, I slowed down. I changed a lot of my patterns. I took my time. I appreciated every single day and every single step, instead of just running to friends that were cool because we got drunk and wasted and we had girls all around us, which is what dudes love in their 20s, right? Now I take my time, and I rode through that point in my life and just took my time, and I didn't, I was abstinent for almost 2 years, didn't date a single girl. And then boom, the first girl I meet is my wife at Encore Beach Club, a place where I used to go get wasted and blacked out drunk. And now I'm literally seeing almost a love at first sight type thing, because I was sober and I took my time, and I was there in Vegas, not partying, but I was there in Vegas competing, and I got my IFBB Pro card. That's what happens when you ride. When you're running through life, you tend to make a lot of mistakes.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. That's awesome. That is a really eloquent and intricate way of saying stopping and smelling the roses, and it's not the destination, it's the journey. But I think you just came up with your life's catchphrase. That's, even though you've already had it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How do we support you? Where do we find you? Where do we see you? How can we watch you compete? What's the best medium for us going to support you online and in person?
You can find me on Instagram, Jason Poston Pro. Facebook, I have a business page. It's my name, Jason Poston. Same thing with YouTube. Same thing with TikTok. And that's it. Yeah. If you guys have any questions about HRT, TRT, peptides, the next evolution in healthcare and just reaching your pinnacle of health, you can contact me. Our company is transcendcompany.com. And there's a lot of other things in the medical industry that we're working on too, where we can save this for another one, but a possible cure for cancer with a clinic down in Cancun. We're working on that, as well as stem cell exosomes to help people with injuries and autism and even cancer prevention and just longevity of life. I mean, stem cell exosomes now are approved in the United States. And a company I'm working with, we're on an FDA master list, so it's legal and prescribed by our doctors, and it can be a telehealth platform. We're not there yet, but we can literally deliver them to people's house. And so, yeah, all things as far as optimizing health away from your typical medications is really what I'm passionate about now. So, and actually start my treatment for trying to reverse type 1 diabetes tomorrow.
I believe it.
So,
I'll tell you what. This was awesome. This was a very eye-opening conversation, and I've always been a fan of you, but now I'm a bigger fan. Not physically, because I'm a bigger fan in the sense that I love you and I appreciate you, and I always have a fascination with people that just believe in what they're saying, and you own it, man. And
love you too, brother. You gonna come work out with me now?
No, I've already worked out today twice, and so now I'm probably gonna. I don't.
It's only like 10:30.
No, I have lunch. But in all seriousness, thanks for sharing your heart every day, online, in person, and for being a part of this today. And Jason Poston, show him some love, support him, follow him, and when he speaks something, know that it's because he believes in it. And that's what this podcast is all about. So thank you, Jason, for being a part of this. You are a stud.
Thank you, Rogers. I appreciate it. I'm Jason Poston, and this is how you sell without selling out. Rogers that.